This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Telecom Reseller, and today I'm with Darren Pearce, Group CEO of TXO. Darren, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics. We're going to be talking about the benefit of the circular economy and the benefits of the circular economy specifically for telcos. We're going to be diving into that topic in just a second. But Darren, first of all, could you just tell me a little bit about TXO?
Thank you for the invite, Doug. Great subject. Look forward to educating our audience. TXO, so we're a UK-based group, operate globally. We're formed in 2008, so we've been around for some time now. We're circa $60 million in turnover, with about 250 full-time staff within the group at this point. Main operations for us across the globe, here in the UK, out there in the US, near Baltimore, Australia, Brazil, France, Sweden, as our latest addition to our group. What do we do? So we ultimately create a catalyst for the circular economy. We buy and we sell, and all the great things in between, including repair and refurbishment of telecom network hardware. And by that I mean fixed line product, mobile product, and optical transmission product. We sit on a huge amount of stock across the world, which is becoming ever more attractive to our customer base. And we decommission and recover equipment from all over the world with our customer base. And I think that the key for us as a business, as a customer base, is that a lot of people would consider that we might be in the reseller, rechannel market, but actually 80% of our customers are end users or OEMs. So we focus heavily on the owner of the equipment. So the operator of that fixed line, that mobile or that optical network. So wholesale or broker or reseller for us is part of our business, but it's a mere 15-20% of what we do. Our absolute focus is dealing with the customer, and therefore it's all about educating and putting that quality piece in front of the customer that is, I'm pleased to say, constantly growing in their knowledge and capability within the circular economy market at this stage.
What you just described, we used to call the secondary market, but today you're talking about the circular economy. What is the circular economy?
Well, the secondary market is still a term that you can use for it, but the circular economy is in theory, for us, it's the extension of life of a product. It's keeping that product in play, not taking it out and putting it into landfill or into a recycling at the end of its life. It's, in another way, it's rehoming the unwanted. It's actually taking it from the individual, the operator, the customer that no longer has a use for it, or has no longer a satisfactory technical performance from that product, and either rehoming it to somebody that does need it, or giving it a new life in terms of refurbishing it or repairing it to a fully working product that can go back into a network. So the longer we can keep that product in life, in play, wherever it happens to be in the world, that's our business model.
So let's tie these things together. How can telcos, I'll start with them, benefit and access this market, this circular economy?
So it's an interesting question, Doug, because it's a constant education piece for us, and different parts of the world, different operators, even different individuals within our customers have different levels of education about this market. And I think that education then becomes a confidence piece in terms of accessing this market. What we continually look at with our customer base is they're not uneducated in terms of how to do this. It is therefore the question of where do I go to make it happen? And the parallel world we continue to look at is any operator in the world that you talk to, mostly on a mobile basis, have already totally embraced the circular economy when it comes to your handset. Everybody thinks about their handset being purchased brand new from a shop or an operator and turns up in its box. But there is this whole huge industry and market that a lot of our customers and your listeners will be familiar with regards to the refurbish and repair of handsets. I was recently in a big factory in France that literally takes care of every single technology of handset for every operator in France on a 24-hour turnaround of repair. And these products come in for whatever reason, damaged, no longer used, and they're out very quickly, being repositioned to a different customer to have a future life. And there's very little difference between that and the physical hardware and product that goes into operating the network. It's just a different part of these businesses that control the consumer product versus the network hardware. So I think a lot of our customer base are familiar with the concept. They're continuing to get confidence in the hardware side of the business. And I think it's fair to say that the OEMs themselves are now playing a bigger part in educating the operator that new is not always the solution. So for us, we have circa 70, 80 sales staff with multiple languages across the world that are constantly proactively dealing with a customer base. And if I go back maybe 5 or 6 years, that discussion with the customer was a hard, long-term discussion of education that the product is accessible, the product has a suitable quality and therefore network performance capability, and the price is attractive. But yes, it is secondary use. It has had a previous home. Now my sales team in current times will tell me it's not so much about breaking down doors and breaking down barriers with our customers. It's just literally becoming much more of a reactive sale. So it's no longer having to be so proactive. It's becoming more active where a customer will come to us. We in the refurbished secondary market will never be able to produce the very next piece of technology that an OEM will be able to produce. But there are huge parts of our customer networks that rely on product that is out of service, no longer in warranty from manufacturers, that has to be serviced. It cannot be extracted from the network. It's still essential to the critical performance of the network. And they have to come somewhere into the market to find those products to keep the life expectancy of their networks running. And it is not just TXO. There are other equivalents of TXO out there in the world that are enabling our customer base to come towards the circular economy. And I think it's worth picking up on a particular point here, is that some customers are very keen to input into the circular economy, as in they have retired their product and they want it to go to the right place, and will quite openly and proactively push product into this market, but not necessarily purchase product out of the market. And then you've got the other ends of the spectrum, where you have a lot of operators that have no product to put into the circular economy, no product coming out of their network, but they definitely need product that they cannot source from anywhere else, and will come to this market to solve their problems.
Now, is there also an opportunity here or a reason to participate for the channel partner community?
So this is an interesting one, because channel partners are obviously very reliant on the new product that's being serviced to them by the manufacturers, the OEMs, And it's not new news to know that there are lots of delays and shortages in there. So the channel partners are in theory running out of stock, and their business model is all about turning stock over quickly from new manufacturers. And I think what is actually happening from our perspective is that the customer who may have previously gone to a channel partner to buy their new product from whatever OEM is now coming direct to the TXOs and equivalent and bypassing the channel partner, because the channel partner does not have the sourcing to go after to find this product wherever it is in the world. And what we've witnessed over the last 12 months is that the OEMs have obviously slowed down their delivery. The operators quickly went to the channel partners and depleted or wiped out as such their stock very quickly. That is not being replenished by the manufacturers. So the operators are now sitting in their queue with the OEM, know that the channel partners have not got any stock, and are now coming directly to our markets to source their product.
So, Darren, within the different groups of people that you serve, I'm wondering where the smaller carrier, the rural telephone companies, Native American telephone companies, some of the smaller mobile carriers and so on, where do they fit into the picture?
Well, I think they're struggling somewhat in terms of where they sit in the queue for new product from the manufacturers. If you're a big operator, you move quite quickly to the front of the queue, and operators will give that, equipment manufacturers will give that their priority. And what we're seeing in our market is a lot of the smaller carriers, the smaller operators, all have a need. It's not in such big quantities, but nevertheless, they have a requirement for their network. And that's where we see a lot of activity with those smaller operators, not necessarily knowing at the time, but coming to our market and actually building a lot of their network from product within the circular economy, which we actually we applaud, because once they realise the positives and the price benefits, I think that's important for these small operators. The price benefits that they're able to benefit from is that they keep coming back, and then they keep asking for different product and new different alternative technologies that we can go out and source on their behalf. So definitely seeing a big influx of smaller operators coming to this market to service their needs as an alternative to the OEM.
So, we've been talking about this for a bit, but can we expand our discussion about what are the benefits of the circular economy? How does it help in today's supply chain with today's supply chain issues?
Well, the biggest issue in supply chain today is lead time, and obviously the componentry needed to manufacture that product. And that's one thing that the circular economy has, is that it's product that is available. It might not be brand new, shiny, straight out of the box, but it is definitely certified from a capability, quality, performance perspective, and it's available tomorrow. So the reality is we have major operators that historically would have gone straight to an OEM for their product and placed their order. We have large tier one operators coming to us on a daily basis, openly saying, we can't get this product for 300, 400, whatever, how many days the lead time is, and can you solve our problems? And a lot of the time we can, not all the time, but a lot of the time we can. And we can source that product from either immediately from our own stock, or what we call proactive mining. So we will go back to our customer base, which is large, and we will proactively ask that customer base, have you got any surplus of this particular product? And we can usually extract that product if it's available within a matter of weeks from our customers' own warehouses, their inventory, any surplus that they have, to repurpose it into a need on the other side. It's a bit like a dating game. We act as a matchmaker between the source and the need. And I think that's absolutely key when we keep talking about the circular economy. There is obviously a lot of talk about people sourcing from the circular economy, but you also need to feed the circular economy. It's not just about buying, it's actually about putting in as well. And that's a key focus for us. We have separate teams that are absolutely focused on sourcing product and not just selling product. Because if you don't have any sources or stock, you've got nothing to sell. Yes, the two are very much needed to make the solution work. And ultimately, the key benefit we'll come back to at the moment is that we're providing much shorter lead times to our customers who are suffering from the OEMs. But prior to this issue that is occurring at a global level at the moment, what are the benefits? Well, number one, you are keeping a product out of landfill, and that's an absolute key. A lot of this product is still very much technically in use across the world, and it would be wrong to assume that we extract product from first world networks and they're redistributed to third world economies. That's absolutely not correct. I would say that 80% of our product comes out of first world economies and goes straight back into first world economies. So it's not about hand-me-downs at an economic level. It is definitely about moving it to its point of requirement. So keeping product out of landfill. Here at TXO, we've got our own repair house as well. So full repair house that's certified by a number of the OEMs, where product is not just refurbished, but it is repaired on behalf of the customers to go back into active networks. And ultimately, the model that we operate here is that if a product is no longer needed, or it's sat on a shelf for an exceptionally long amount of time and has no future home, the last part of the decision making is that it's recycled. And if it's recycled, the key part there is that the extraction of the precious metals is key. So any product that does not have a future home for whatever technical or beyond economic repair reason, it will get recycled. And again, even at that level, the byproduct of that recycling, be it precious metals, be it ferrous metals, be it plastics, they eventually go back into a manufacturing process. So it pretty much comes back to an almost zero net landfill expectation from us and an industry, which we're very proud of. And the reality is there is some product out there that is always going to be recycled. If you take 2G mobile, there's not much out of it, much out in the world, still in service. It was deployed in large quantities, so it's coming out in large quantities. So we will resell a small percentage where it's needed, but the bulk of it will be recycled and go back into a manufacturing process somewhere else in the world.
You know, as you're describing the process, I'm almost hearing a kind of different model emerging. Instead of buyer-seller, it sounds like you're a participant, or choosing to become a participant, joining the circular economy, as opposed to just sort of buying and selling into it.
Absolutely. This is it's about joining the dots, and it's interesting with regards to how vast the procurement strategy can be from one group to next. And I think if I was to give an example, one of the best parts of the world that we see in enabling and embracing this model is Scandinavia, which would explain why we've just put an operation into Sweden to service our Scandinavian customer base. Now, the key in Scandinavia that we see is they're not afraid. So they're very, not just in a telecoms world. We've just set up an operation in a place called Eskilstuna. And when I was out there a couple of months ago, I was taken to a shopping mall. And that shopping mall had 0 new products in it. It was 100% second-hand product. Now, I've not seen that anywhere else in the world, and it gives you a bit of a perspective on the mindset of the Scandinavians in terms of it's just part of their life. They just embrace it. It's natural to them, and we see that in the operators there as well, where they've fully embraced the circular economy. They feed into the circular economy. They extract from the circular economy. But they think long term. They don't just think about what we need tomorrow. They will give us forecasts for the next 12, 18 months in terms of their needs, which is no different to how they would be planning with a manufacturer for new product. So we're able not only to go out and proactively source that product for them, but here's one of the keys. They give us visibility of all of their surplus product across all of their entities, and that could be 14, 15 different countries. And where we're now moving to is not just an extraction and a sell. We're actually doing a lot more redeployment. So we may, and this is a real life case, we have just extracted, as in decommissioned and extracted a whole load of equipment in Sweden. We catalogued it. The system that we use, we distribute that inventory across the whole of their group to all of their supply chain procurement divisions in all the different countries. And if any country has a need for that product, rather than going out to the external market, we enable the redeployment of that product to a different country. So we extract it, we inventorize it, we test it, we do any refurbishment and commissioning that's needed on that product, and it was moved to Finland for redeployment. So you actually enable the circular economy within a group, not even within the world, but within a particular customer, within a particular group. And that's almost the holy grail. That's almost the perfect model, that they're not even sourcing externally, they're actually sourcing from within, using us as their technical expert to identify and redeploy that equipment.
So how do we get more telcos and channel partners to, if you will, join the circular economy?
I think this is an interesting point. There's a common saying that money makes the world go round, and what you'll see in a global level at the moment is a lot of investment. The investment world wants to invest in circular economy businesses. Why? Could be questionable, but they definitely want these things in their portfolio. So one of the great things we're seeing is a lot of positive inward looking from the world of investment into how do we make these businesses grow bigger and quicker. And you will see this industry boom over the next 5 to 10 years because there's a lot of external money that will be focused at it. And on the flip side, if you're sitting on the board of a very large company, you will have initiatives, expectations from your shareholders, etc., to do the right thing. No different to employment laws, health and safety, whatever it happens to be, sustainability and circular economy procurement within a big group will become an absolute must. So it will be driven by the shareholders, it will be driven by the investors. So from one side, you'll have a pressure from this customer base that will be pushed towards this market, which is great for us, and we're already seeing it. And the challenge for us on our side is to open the world up and to stop any myths that may be sitting out there that you've even touched on yourself, Doug, that sometimes it's seen as a bit of a dark world. How do I understand it? And there's a number of white papers, including our own, that we've just recently released, that tries to educate that customer base as to there is an alternative. There really is a really positive alternative here, and I think where this will ultimately move to in quite a short period of time is that when a supplier, be it a TXO, be it an original manufacturer or the equivalent, that contract that you receive in terms of servicing equipment, there will be certain expectations that you will legally have to comply with regards the amount of product that you are providing that has come from the circular economy. It's almost like the world of equality, etc., that you must at least meet a certain percentage of criteria that your network is made up of X% of product that has come from the circular economy, which if that really does become legislation, you've seen probably the types of legislation that are moving through at the moment in terms of the right to repair on whatever product, white goods, it's coming, that the right to repair is the first phase, and then the right to resell and the right to refurbish and all of those things will come through in legislation. So I think ultimately it will be a combination of pressure on the customer to do the right thing, a high focus of investment in this area, and legislation coming in from underneath that will bring the two together and force a real positive direction.
And you seem to be saying also that in advance of regulatory and statutory things that may be coming down, this is also good business. This is a best practice.
Yeah, there's a moral piece to this. If you, for those of us that have children, you feel the moral obligation coming back through the education of your children. And it's a very simple thing that says you need to do the right thing here. If there is an option to reuse that product, why aren't you doing it? Yeah, there's no bigger power than the moral pressure of the world on you to make the right decision. And you see it in so many things in life today, that there's an expectation for you to do the right thing. And the circular economy is not a bad thing. It's a very positive thing, and it's not that complicated. You just need certain businesses like TXO to overcome as I say, it's like the dating game. It's a very technical dating game.
Well, Darren, with that, we'll close up our podcast. I really want to thank you for joining us today and giving us not only insight into TXO, but we've heard about the circular economy, but I think you've given us a bigger vision of what that means and how maybe the different companies we come from fit into that vision. Where can we learn more about TXO?
Well, you can go to txo.com. There's plenty of information there. A great one to do at txo.com is download the circular economy white paper that we've recently produced. That talks about the perception of the circular economy. We've surveyed our own customer base. I think it's about 60 operators from around the world in terms of their thoughts. And yeah, it gives you an insight into where we are today, and where we're trying to obviously move this is in a positive direction. And if we redo that survey in 6 to 12 months, if we've done our job right, we'll be moving positively into the right direction. But yes, the white paper on the circular economy is definitely a great start at our website.
Well, we'll encourage our readers and listeners to look at that white paper and make a visit. I hope we're going to be talking again soon. This is a great topic. But for now, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Okay, pleasure, Doug. Thank you.